The Image comic series Peter Panzerfaust is a Peter Pan-inspired story set in World War II. Now bear with me, I know it sounds a little weird, but it's really good. I'm a huge Peter Pan fan, so when I saw this series got announced, I got really excited. And the series does a really good job of bringing elements of that classic story into this new story. They don't rip it off completely, there's just subtle hints at it. Well, not subtle. The character's name is Peter Panzerfaust, but you know what I mean. It's not an exact rip-off of the classic Peter Pan story. It's actually entirely different. Just certain aspects of it tie in with this. The first arc in the series is titled The Great Escape. It's about Peter Panzerfaust meeting up with a group of orphans who eventually becomes the Lost Boys, like, you know, the movie and the old story. And it's about them escaping to Paris to escape the Nazis who are invading France. This arc is a coming-of-age story as we see the orphans turn from regular orphans, regular kids, into kids surviving during a war. And not just surviving during war, but also fighting that war in different ways as well. There are action scenes where they have to take on Nazis and escape them and sneak around them and all that. So they are part of this war. They are dealing with it just as much as any British soldier is who, you know, is at France at that time. But yeah, it's definitely a coming-of-age story, and they do it very well. You really see some of the characters mature. Some of them really hold on to that childish way of thinking. The character interactions are really good as well, especially between Gilbert and Pete. I really love to see, I really like seeing their relationship grow, and I can't wait to see it grow even more. And then all the other boys, while they're not completely in the spotlight, you do get an idea of their character and, you know, the characteristics and who they are and what they do. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them grow more as the series goes on as well. I only have one major complaint, and that one complaint is that the story does seem to move on pretty quick, but it kind of works, so then I guess it's really not a complaint at all. Every issue really, you do see them somewhere, like every issue is its own little story, but it all ties in as one big thing. So I guess it works, so it's really not that big of a complaint. I just think it would have worked a little bit differently. But no, it's still really good. It's still a great story. Now, the similarities between Peter Pan and Peter Panzerfaust are very strong. They're all there. You can obviously tell that he's based off Peter Pan. You know, he's very cocky. He's very courageous. He always has his head on straight. He can think positively during any situation. And he's crazy. He's out of his mind, just like the regular Peter Pan. You know, before running into battle, he does his wolf cry. You know, the "Aroo!" Like he does that. Just like in the movie. It's awesome. I love it. And that the wolf howling becomes like their symbol. Like they leave it after they've liberated a certain building, or you know, something like that. Whenever they've cleared out like a Nazi group, they spray paint that on the wall. That's like that becomes their symbol. That becomes them. There are certain parts in the series that is directly from that classic story that we all know and love. For one example, in issue 1, Pete gets shot at by a tank, and the building he's in gets shot at by a tank, and he goes flying against the wall, and he hits the ground, and on the wall in an outline of ash you see, you know, an outline of Pete, and I took that as like a hint at like the whole shadow aspect of the first, oh well, not of the first, but of that classic story where he's in Wendy's room and, you know, he's chasing his shadow. So I saw that really at a hint of that. There's another part in the series where they need to jump from one building to the next, and it's a pretty far jump, and the Lost Boys really aren't feeling it. They don't think they can do it, and they ask Pete like, how are we supposed to do that? That's impossible. And Pete just kind of like shrugs and says magic. Obviously, Peter Pan is magical. He has pixie dust and all that. And when he makes that jump, one of the characters actually describes it as him flying. It looked like he was flying, which Peter Pan does fly. So that's, you know, another hint at the classic story. And one of the biggest hints at Peter Pan is, you know, in the Peter Pan story, the way he makes his entrance into the story is he just appears in Wendy's window. You know, he's just there. One minute he's not, one minute he is. And it's the same thing here. After the orphanage gets blown up, there's Peter. He's just standing on the rubble with a dumb smirk on his face, holding a rifle, looking cool. And, you know, there's this extremely big similarity between the series and the classic story there as well. And one of my favorite similarities between this and the old story is Neverland. In issue 4, the Lost Boys and Pete come across an old country home where it's abandoned and it just seems perfect, and they stay there, and they do refer to it as Neverland once or twice. And obviously Neverland is where Peter Pan lives, and it's just, you know, it's a huge similarity, and it's my favorite one. And while they're there, all the boys are happy and they're all having fun, and in panels you could show it. You know, there's pictures being taken, you know, it's just like, it seems like the happiest place in the world, which Neverland is supposed to be, and, you know, it seems awesome. But also in the story, in Neverland, it's not completely happy. There is evil, and here there's evil as well. In this case, not being pirates, but them being Nazis. It shows that you may find your happy place here on Earth, but there is still evil out there. It's still around you. You just don't know where it is, and it could show up at any moment. Now, I'm going to talk about spoilers really quick here. So if you guys haven't read this series yet, definitely stop watching, go pick it up, and then come back and watch the rest of the video. The death of a line at the end of issue 4 was very simply done, but had a very strong impact. For me, that's what ended all fairy tale aspects of this series. It reminded me that I was reading a war story. That's what it is. Doesn't take place in Neverland. It takes place during World War II in France. Like I said, that really ended the fairy tale aspect for me, and I love that, how it just brought it to an abrupt stop. Like, I didn't expect anyone to die in the series because it didn't seem bloody. It didn't seem like that. It sounded like it always had like an upbeat feel to it, and then this just kind of ended that, and that carried on to the last issue as well. For most of the issue was the beginning anyway. Was very sad, and them talking about like his death, and you do see Pete lose control in the hotel room and throw everything around. To me, it really shows what war can be like. You can be happy and feel safe one moment, and the next, your world is crumbling down upon you, and someone dies, and in this case, it was a child's life that was lost. And that's why I love this death so much. I mean, sounds a little mean. I'm not happy that the character died, but just the impact it had on the rest of the book was really cool. One more thing I want to talk about is the possibility of Captain Hook being in this series. In issue 3, when they're at that one bunker with the Nazi captain, and they have a sword fight, Peter Pan and this captain. Peter Pan fights with a dagger, and the Nazi captain fights with a sword. And that right there already seems, that's like the classic Captain Hook Peter Pan battle, with the sword and the dagger. And then as they're fighting, they're talking smack on one another, and Pete wins, and he stabs the captain in the hand. And I don't remember which hand it was, but blade goes right through it. That hand is probably shot. And what Pete says is, before he goes to kick him out of the window, he says like, "Oh, like our paths will never cross again." And he goes to kick him, the window doesn't break. And he says, "Oh, I really thought that was gonna break that time." This is me going out of whim here, but I feel like that is him saying, well, that's not him. That's the writer saying like, "Oh, this character is gonna return as Captain Hook, or possibly return to Captain Hook." And I thought this was gonna be a mini series, but it has, issue 6 is coming out. They're going to start a new arc. So my guess is that we are going to see Captain Hook soon, and it's going to be that Nazi captain. If it isn't, then I'm an idiot. I'm sorry I lied to you. That's just what I thought was going to happen. So those are my thoughts on Peter Panzerfaust. I really love the series. It's really fun. It's a great read. Definitely check it out. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have read it, whether you liked it or not, and that's pretty much it.